The last thing anyone expected to hear inside a private airport hangar was a single father calmly telling a powerful CEO that he would rather walk away than accept a payment he desperately needed. The room was filled with wealthy executives, expensive suits, and people who were used to getting their way. But standing in the middle of them was a tired man with worn-out shoes, a faded jacket, and a quiet determination that money could not buy. The CEO had just refused to pay him $700. The amount was small to someone who owned companies and private jets, but for this single dad, it represented groceries, rent, and a little hope for his young daughter. Yet instead of begging, he placed an old folder on the table and pointed toward a thick document inside. Then read page 47 before takeoff, he said. Nobody in that hangar understood what those words meant. But within minutes, everything changed. Before we continue this emotional journey, if you believe kindness, honesty, and second chances still matter in this world, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel, Beyond Single Dad, for more inspiring stories like this. 3 months earlier, no one would have believed that a man like Marcus Vale would ever stand in front of a billionaire CEO. Marcus was not famous. He was not successful by society's standards. He was just a father trying to survive. Every morning before sunrise, Marcus woke up in a small rented apartment on the edge of the city. The paint on the walls was peeling, the heater barely worked, and the kitchen table had one chair with a broken leg. But to Marcus, that little apartment was home because it was where his 8-year-old daughter, Aria, smiled at him every morning. After losing his wife years earlier, Marcus became everything for his daughter. He learned how to cook simple meals, braid hair, pack school lunches, and comfort a child during the nights when she missed her mother. He carried the weight of being both parents, even when his own heart was breaking. Marcus worked as an aircraft maintenance technician. He loved airplanes because he believed every machine had a story. He knew every sound an engine made, every tiny detail that could become a dangerous problem if ignored. For 15 years, he had dedicated his life to keeping aircraft safe. But after a company downsizing, Marcus lost his stable position. Bills started piling up. He took small repair jobs wherever he could find them. Some weeks he had work. Some weeks he didn't. Still, he never let Aria see his fear. He would smile and tell her, everything will be okay. Even though sometimes, after she fell asleep, he sat alone at the kitchen table wondering how he would make it through another month. Then came the opportunity that could change everything. A wealthy aviation company needed an emergency inspection specialist for a private jet before an important international flight. The job was temporary, but the payment was enough to cover Marcus's overdue rent and his daughter's medical expenses. The company's assistant contacted him and said they needed someone experienced, someone who noticed things others missed. Marcus arrived early that morning at the private airport. The hangar was enormous. Luxury cars lined the entrance, employees walked around with tablets, and a massive private jet waited under bright lights. That was where he met Adrian Cross, the CEO of the company. Adrian was known as a brilliant businessman. He had built his empire from nothing and was respected by many. But people also whispered that he was cold, impatient, and cared more about numbers than people. Marcus did not judge him. He simply focused on the job. For hours, Marcus inspected the aircraft carefully. He checked systems, reviewed maintenance records, and examined every detail. Most people rushed because they wanted to finish quickly, but Marcus knew that one ignored problem could cost lives. Near the end of the inspection, he noticed something strange. There was a small inconsistency in the aircraft documentation. It was hidden deep inside the maintenance records. Most people would have missed it. But Marcus had spent years learning that small things mattered. He asked for the complete flight documentation and started reviewing it. That was when he found something unusual on page 47. A previous repair had been recorded, but the details did not match the actual work completed. The numbers, dates, and inspection notes had a serious inconsistency. Marcus immediately informed the team that the aircraft needed another inspection before departure. Some employees became frustrated. The flight was scheduled soon, and important executives were waiting. Adrian Cross walked toward Marcus, clearly annoyed. He looked at the paperwork and then at Marcus. He questioned why a temporary worker was delaying a multi-million-dollar flight. Marcus calmly explained what he found and why safety had to come first. But Adrian believed Marcus was exaggerating. After all, the aircraft had passed previous checks. When Marcus finished his work, Adrian's assistant handed him the payment request. $700. For Marcus, that money meant everything. But before he could receive it, Adrian refused. He said Marcus had caused unnecessary delays and created problems for the company. He told him he would not pay for work that complicated things. The words hurt. Marcus stood there silently. He thought about his daughter waiting at home. He thought about the bills on the table. He thought about how badly he needed that money. But then he looked at the aircraft. He knew he had done the right thing. He slowly closed the folder. "I won't argue with you," Marcus said. "But before you make your decision, read page 47 before takeoff." The room became quiet. Adrian looked confused. Marcus placed the documents on the table and walked away. For the first time in years, Marcus felt defeated. He walked outside the hangar knowing he might lose the only opportunity he had. But what happened next changed his life forever. Adrian opened the folder. He turned through the pages. Then he reached page 47. His expression changed. The information Marcus found was real. The mistake in the records was not small. It revealed that a previous repair had not been properly documented. If the aircraft had taken off without another inspection, the consequences could have been catastrophic. Adrian looked toward the window. Marcus was already walking away. The CEO had spent his entire life surrounded by people who wanted something from him. Everyone praised him, agreed with him, and followed his orders. But this man had nothing to gain by telling the truth. He needed money. He needed the job. Yet he still chose safety over his own desperation. Adrian immediately sent someone to bring Marcus back. When Marcus returned, he expected anger. Instead, he saw a different person standing in front of him. A man who looked humbled. Adrian apologized. He admitted that Marcus had been right. But he also noticed something else. Inside Marcus's folder was a small drawing from his daughter. It was a picture of her father fixing an airplane with the words, "My dad keeps people safe." Adrian asked about her. Marcus smiled and told him about Aria. He explained how hard life had become but how he never wanted his daughter to think giving up was an option. Those words stayed with Adrian. Because behind his success, Adrian had forgotten something important. Years earlier, when he was struggling to build his company, someone had once helped him without expecting anything in return. He realized he had become the kind of person he once promised he would never become. A few days later, Adrian offered Marcus a permanent position as head of aircraft safety inspections. But the biggest surprise came after. Adrian created a program in his company to support skilled workers who had fallen on difficult times. He wanted people like Marcus to have opportunities instead of being forgotten. Months later, Marcus and Aria moved into a better home. Aria continued drawing airplanes, but now her father worked in a place where people respected him. Marcus never forgot that day. He never forgot that one page changed everything. And Adrian never forgot the lesson either. Sometimes the person asking for the smallest amount of respect can teach the biggest lesson about humanity. Sometimes a person with the least power can have the strongest courage. And sometimes, all it takes is one honest person standing up at the right moment to remind the world that kindness still exists. If this story touched your heart, please support this video by liking, sharing, and subscribing to Beyond Single Dad. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of hope, kindness, and second chances to people around the world. Before the ending, I have a special request. Comment, "Kindness always wins," if you believe one good action can change someone's entire life. Because somewhere out there, someone may be struggling quietly, waiting for a little kindness, just like Marcus was. And sometimes, one small act of honesty is the beginning of a completely different future.